Stay tuned. Today we are going to talk about the metrics that you are going to use to choose your next project. Hey bosses, how are you doing? I hope everybody is having a great day. We are in the month of May. We still are under quarantine, kind of. So it's the new normal. That's it. So that's why right now we are going to restart doing all of our content so you can be well informed about your real estate investments. And today, here at the Show Me the Money, I want to talk to you about the metrics that you are going to use for your next project, that you're going to use to choose your next project. And that's a question that a lot of people ask me via direct message, via email, via all my social medias. When I have an in-person meeting, everybody wants to know, Daniel, how do I analyze a good deal? How do I choose a good deal? What is the metric that I can use to select between several projects the one that is better for me? And the question that you need to ask yourself is, what's your goal with that investment? And of course, at first, everybody's going to answer, Daniel, that's stupid. The goal of any investment is to make money. I know it is, but if I can put that in two different categories, there is two ways someone wants to make money through an investment. Number one, it's collecting money for a period, meaning cash flow. Or two, having a lot of money at the end, and that's called the exit strategy or whatever you want to call it. Capitalization or sellout or whatever. Or you can combine both of them, receiving some money during a period of time and then selling that investment. And that's the fundamental question you need to ask, because it was a mistake that I made for several years of my career until I figured out, wait, not only the higher rate of return will select the best investment, because sometimes it's not that the investor wants. He wants money for his day-to-day activities. So there's basically four metrics that are going to help you in this process to choose the best investment for you. Cash flow, cash on cash, equity multiple, and internal rate of return. And I'm going to talk to each one of them. So ask yourself a question. You want money today or you want money in the future? So that's going to define which kind of metric you're going to use to select a great investment. And why do I say that? Because there's a lot of investments that are terrific investments if you are looking for cash flow. You buy the property and you make money every month. So basically, looking at the cash flow, how much money will that investment give it to me? $1,000 per month, $10,000 per month, $20,000 per month. That's a metric that you need to look. I have an investor that he's Brazilian and he's moving to the United States. He wants to move here. He's very wealthy, he's very successful in his career, and he called me and said, Daniel, I want to move to the United States, but I want to make at least $50,000 every month before I move. So now what he's doing, he's looking for investments that generate cash flow for him. At some point he called me, Daniel, maybe I could try to build something and make more money. And I tell him, client X, you can do that. But remember, your goal is at this moment is to make enough investments that those investments will generate for you $15,000 per month. After you reach that, you're going to look for other opportunities that maybe they have more risks. They won't give you any cash flow during the process, but at the end, they can make you a lot of money. So when you look at cash flow, you're looking at a number, a dollar amount, $1,000, $10,000, $500, $100,000. So the first thing you're going to ask is, how much money do I want to make? I want to make, as my client said, $15,000 per month, because that's his lifestyle. He has 3 kids. He wants to live a comfortable life. So that's the amount of money that he want to do. So now he needs to, that's number 1, looking at the cash flow. And number 2 is the cash on cash return, or the cap rate return. And that's going to measure the efficiency of his capital. And I will explain. 2 investments that generate $1,000 per month or per year or any given period, one can be good and one can be bad. Let's give an example. If I invest $10,000, and I make from this $10,000 $1,000 if every single month, I'm having a 10% return or cap rate. The capitalization rate of my investment, my $10,000, is 10% per period. Maybe month, maybe year, maybe week, maybe day, I don't know. You decide. So when I invest $10,000, I receive $1,000. That's 10%. Another investment could demand me to invest $100,000 and make during the same period, maybe a day, maybe a week, a month, or a year, you decided, the same $1,000 that the first one, the one that I invested $10,000, made me. So that tells me that the investment of $100,000 gives me a cap rate, a capitalization rate of 1%. So in investment A, I receive $1,000. Investment B, I receive $1,000. Both of them give me $1,000 that I can add to my cash flow, and that's good. But when you talk about efficiency, one gives me 10% of my money, and the other one gives me 1% of my money. Of course, I'm not taking into consideration at this moment the risk of each one. Usually, the riskier the investment, the better the chance that you make more money, the better the chance. And I want to say that because a lot of people say high risk, high return. No, high risk, high possibility of return. It doesn't mean that every time you incur in a risk, you are going to have a great return. No. If that was true, every time you play the lotto, you would make a lot of money because the risk is 100%. You can lose 100% of your money to make a lot of money. So that's number 1, setting the cash flow amount you want to have. I want to have $10,000 every month. So now I'm going to have to look for the cap rate, the capitalization rate of the investment with equal risk that gives me the most efficient investment. The higher the cap rate, considering the risk is the same, let's say real estate, I'm buying a house. This house, completely new, it gives me 10%. The neighbor's house gives me 5% return. So if they are equal, they are in the same market, they have the same risk, I'm considering that none of them has any risk of structural defects or anything else. They are exactly the same. They are neighbors. This is 101st Street, number 1150, and this is 1151. They are equals, okay? And one gives me 10% and another one gives me 5%. Of course, the 10% is most efficient, and that's why I'm going to choose it, because it generates the cash flow that I need, which is equal to my neighbors, but is more efficient, which means it costs less for every dollar that I'm making. So knowing how much money you want to make sets you the first target. I want to make this amount of money. Second target, I want to have the most efficient investment. So the best cap rate possible, the highest cap rate possible for a given risk. Don't quote me on that, because if you only look at the last sentence, the better the cap rate, the better the investment. No. Sometimes when you have different investments, the higher the cap rate, you can have more risk at that investment. So be sure that the investments are the same, and if they are, go with the one that has the best cap rate. So that helps people that they are just looking for monthly return, and that's retirement people that got retired. I have a client just like that. He used to work in multinational companies, and now he's retired. He took all his money off his 401k, his investment fund, his retirement funds, and he wants to do something more efficient with his money. So I'm assisting him with that, because he's taking money and putting real estate properties that will generate him more cash flow for what he needs. So if you're looking for retirement, it doesn't matter how old you are. I want to retire, meaning I don't want to work for money. I just want to work for fun and make money. Everything else, what they call passive investment, buying something, this will generate money for them. So retirement, people that want to keep working, but they want to have something, some of it, his expenses paid. Like, let's say I want an investment that will pay my mortgage, my insurance, and my household costs. So he says, okay, my household cost is $10,000 per month, $5,000 per month. So he's going to make an investment that generates that kind of cash flow for him. So he will not be in desperation, meaning I have to work to make money. Now, if he does this investment, which I think is very clever, you do an investment that covers your cost, because everything else that you produce by working then becomes free to do anything else. You can burn it all if you want to, or you can make new investments. So that's a very nice way to look at it. Now, there are some people, they are not concerned about how much money they're going to make every year or every month with an investment. What they are looking for is entering something, staying there for a while during a period, 1 year, 10 years, 50 years, and at the end of it, they cash out a lot of money. And usually, those people, they are looking for an equity multiple. What that mean? If I put $1 today, how much money I'm going to have in 10 years? I'm going to have $2, I'm going to have $5, I'm going to have $10. So they are looking for an overall return on the future. So they are not going to make any money, zero money during this period, and they are going to make a lot of money on the end. So that is something that you also need to take care of. Is one thing. Doubling your money. Sometimes some people come to me, Daniel, I have an investment here, a property that you're going to double up your money. Okay, doubling the money is good because it's 100%. 100% return. You put $1, you take out $2. So let's say it's an investment property, like to build a building like this. You put $1 million, you're going to have $2 million in profit, $2 million in net profit. So that's very good. You're doubling your money. Now, the question is, how long will I take to double my money? Because if it's 10 years, it's barely 10% per year. It's a little less because it's a compound effect. But let's say it's 10% a year. If it takes me 20 years, then it's 5% a year. So the metric of equity multiple also needs to be taken into consideration the time frame that you're going to take to have that equity multiply in a period of time. So you can also incorporate that in an investment that cashes you out during, gives you cash flow during a period. You're going to invest in something, let's say a property. The property is going to generate cash flow for you during a period of time. And in the end, you expect to sell it for 50% more. I don't know. But the 50% more plus the money you made during this period can double your money if you add all the money, all the profits that you had on the cash flow and on the back end when you sell it. So you need to take care of that. How long it will take you and why? Thinking about how long it will take is important because the inflation effect. Inflation will eat your money out. So if you're making 3% per year in a world where you have 2% inflation, in the end, you're doing, because of the compound effect, less than 1% a year. So you need to take into consideration. If you want to double your money, try to make as fast as possible with a given risk. And that's the key word for everything, given risk. You need to know the risks that you are incurring. Now, when you have the both things, when you have the periodic cash flow, weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, you invest in something, it gives you money back during a period of time, and in the end, when you sell it, you make more money. Then you have a metric that I like to use, which is the internal rate of return. And the internal rate of return is going to basically tell you what's the average of your return considering the cash flow that you receive during this period, 5 years, 10 years, 2 months, whatever, all the cash flows and all the cash contributions you have to make sometimes for that investment during a period of time, plus what you cash out at the end. And when people invest in real estate, they only think about the money they are coming in, but you need to consider also that you do put money for maintenance, you do need to put money for tax returns and everything else. So when you add up all of these numbers, at some periods you're going to have a negative cash flow, meaning you put more money than you receive it. And that's common for, let's say, if I rent this apartment. If I rent this apartment, someone leaves, I need to fix it, I need to paint it, I need to clean it, I need to pay the property tax for it for that period, I need to pay the association fee for that period. Let's say I stood 1 month vacant. That 1 month will generate me a negative cash flow because I'm not receiving anything, but I'm paying something. So that's going to be the internal rate of return. The internal rate of return, use it to be my main metric. I only use to look at a given risk, the internal rate of return. Oh, I want a project with 15% rate of return. I want a project with 20% per year rate of return. And that's something that I changed mostly in the last 2 years, because I learned that it's not always the internal rate of return that is important, and I'll give you a reason for that. Most of the investments that rely on the IRR, internal rate of return, usually they have 80 or 9% of their return attached to the end of the project. And as we know, the end of the project is something uncertain. So you don't know how it's going to play out 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Sometimes you have a pandemic in the middle that you didn't put into your spreadsheet, because that's impossible thing to do, because if you knew that was going to happen, a pandemic, and the economy is going to be shut down, you wouldn't be investing in the first place. So the internal rate of return was my to-go metric, but it's not anymore, because I'm older and I'm wiser, and I had a lot of losses looking at the internal rate of return. So now that's my perspective. Yours may be different, but that's my perspective. Now I'm much more interested in, depending on the kind of the project, on the cap rate that it generates me, because that means that my risk every month or every period that I receive that cash flow, it's being reduced, because there's nothing with less risk, even though there is risk, but there's nothing with less risk than having money in your pocket. So when you invest in something that the internal rate of return, the overall return, the average return you have from the investment you make, the cash flow you take during the period, and the sale you do in the end, let's say it's 8%. You are making 8% overall. And there's another project that doesn't make you any money during the investment project. You put money today, you spend 5 years without making anything. But the internal rate of return of that project, it's 15%, almost double the 8. Depending on the case, I would rather go with the 8% because that's my perspective. Some people, maybe they are younger than me. I'm 36 at this moment. I'm not old, but I used to be a little bit less concerned about those stuff. And some people, they just want to multiply their money as fast as they can. So they are going to look, how can I make the best internal rate of return the fastest I can? And I am on the other side. I want to make investments that generates cash flow for me, and still at the end I get something which we call residual, something that I take out from the investment at the end. So that's basically why, for me at this moment, the cap rate is more important than the internal rate of return, because I never know if I will get the internal rate of return, because I need 10 years from now to know that. While the cap rate, I need 1 month to know that that one I received is in my pocket. Second month, it's in my pocket. I can do whatever I want. Third month, it's in my pocket. I can do whatever I want with that money. So that reduces the risk, and that's why I like it a lot. But nevertheless, the best investment for you is the investment that achieves your goals. My goals at this moment are to generate cash flow. After that, I will be risking again on the back end. But that depends on anybody else, on each one of you. So answer the question. Do you want money today, or do you want money in the future? Depending on your answer, you're going to look to cash flow and cap rate, or equity multiple and internal rate of return. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next